Welcome. Today we are talking about fear of the unknown, which I think is pretty drastic and I think it covers a lot of ground. It's kind of an all-encompassing thing. Some of what we've already talked about, rejection or success or failure, all of those things almost kind of come in to fear of the unknown. We fear the things that we don't know. And tons of people fear the unknown because it's just that. It's unknown. It's risky. And we've become so comfortable in our little bubble of safety, because it's just that. It's a safety area. It's something that we know. We're comfortable in it. And we know what's going to happen. We know the people in it. We know the things in it. And it's not going to make us have any feelings that we're not uncomfortable with, because so many people are just afraid of feelings in general, like there's some weird plague or something. Feelings are human, and people just don't take the risks with unknown things because they don't know what the outcome will be. And that's, I don't think, anything new, but people who tend to take a little bit more risk, and it could be calculated risk. It doesn't have to be, going and maybe gambling or just, jumping into a certain situation that you don't know anything about. But taking a risk is not a bad thing. Taking a risk could mean a lot of things. It could be getting in a new relationship, whether that be personal, whether that be social, whether that be professional, or in some sort of business relationship. All of those things can be a little bit exciting. And some people don't like to meet new people, but you never know where that relationship could lead. Maybe it'll lead you to more connections. Maybe you'll really enjoy that person, and if you hadn't have met him, maybe you wouldn't have met their best friends. You wouldn't have had an expanded social circle. You wouldn't have met some of the people that you're so much alike, because you're afraid to take a risk. You're afraid to swallow the knot in your throat and go for it. We don't know if things will work. We don't know if a relationship will work. We don't know if we'll be successful in a new career path. We don't know if we'll be a good leader. Are you afraid to start a new career path because it would mean learning something that you don't know how it's going to turn out? You don't know if you would climb the ladder in this organization. You have no idea if you would be a good manager, supervisor, whatever the role may be, a leadership role regardless in that company. We don't ever take a risk because we're just so terrified of what the outcome could be. We're terrified of that unknown. I could fail at this, or I could succeed, but I don't know. And that unknown is holding so many people back from doing the things that they could end up being great at. Maybe it'll be a new passion, but a new avenue either way. And it could be terrifying. But if you go back to when you were a kid, everything was new. And sometimes you got shoved into some things that you didn't know a lot about, but you had to do it either way because somebody told you to. And now it's a little bit different because you have to make that decision to do something that you're not completely sure of. It's not somebody shoving you into something. It's you making the decision that you're going to take that step anyway into the unknown and do something that you very well may not be comfortable with. When you think of something that's unknown, instead of just being terrified and saying, this could happen, and thinking of all the bad things that could happen, of all the things that could go wrong, instead, shift that and think, look at all the connections I could make. Look at the new directions that this could open for me. People do things that are uncomfortable for them all the time because they know that there could be so much more reward on the other side of that risk. Now, some people have been taught that taking a risk is not a good thing, and that, maybe if you take a risk, something bad will happen because you just can't do anything good. Hopefully, that's not you, but if it is, get that thinking out of your head and know that if you take a risk, something great could happen to you. If you take a risk and get to know somebody new, you may find a new best friend, you may find connections, it may open up a whole new world for you. What new things could you bite the bullet and do? What could you get out of your comfort zone and say, I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess we're going to find out, and I'm really going to hope it's really good. I think that's one of the bad parts about technology. It shields us from so much of the unknown. Back in the day, if you wanted to meet somebody, if you wanted to be around people, you had to go somewhere. You had to join an organization, you had to join a club, you had to go out to a restaurant, wherever. Doesn't matter where it is, but you had to go somewhere to meet people. If you wanted a new job or a job in general, you had to go to that company and you had to show your face and you had to talk to somebody, whether it be to get an application, introduce yourself, whatever the case may be. Anymore, it's really easy to hide behind whatever electronic device your choice is, and you fill out everything online, submit, and maybe you get the guts to make a phone call, but most of the time you get an automated email. Yes, they received this, and we'll contact you within a couple weeks if we decide to go forward with your application. Then you log on to whatever web portal and you can see it's in review, or the manager will be calling you at said time. But it's so easy because it's not unknown. You get out of that unknown, but you also get to hide behind something that you don't have to show your face. You don't have to take the risk. And you don't have to go network. You don't have to go meet people. So much of that unknown is taking out. But that's also, I don't think, a great thing because it takes out that life skill. I think taking a risk is a little bit of a life skill because that forced you to do things that you didn't know, but it developed that skill and it kind of made you flex that muscle into getting used to doing things that you didn't know about till that you were used to them, until it wasn't unknown anymore. You were just so used to taking that risk over and over that you just started doing it and you moved forward. It's so easy right now to send someone a text and say, sorry, we're done, instead of having to not have the option of a phone call and having to go meet that person in person and man up behind it and say, yeah, sorry, I think we're done. It's not working for me anymore. All of that in-person contact has been taken out because now we can just send a quick text and say, sorry, we're done, and you can ignore everything no matter what. But all of those things take away from that skill of saying, yeah, it's unknown, but I don't really have any choice. I have to do the unknown because that's the only option I have. But now everything we have, there's such a convenience factor that we don't say, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll figure it out. Now we get to sit at home in our little comfort zone, our little, bubble of ease, whether that be easy or not. But that little bubble that says, I'm comfortable here. I don't want to leave. I don't want to do anything that makes me uncomfortable. So hopefully this has caused you to think about maybe taking a risk, doing something that maybe you don't know the outcome. Maybe you go do something that you may fail, but you may succeed. Fear of the unknown is so much of life. When we were kids, we had no idea what was going to happen, but we were forced to do it anyway. And then we grow up and all of a sudden we have to make the decisions, and there's no decision to make because there's just so much ease. You can click a few buttons and almost get whatever you want. Sometimes there's a price, sometimes there's not. But fear of the unknown is such an all-encompassing thing that we have to work through. There's so much reward in doing things that you don't know what the outcome will be. There's so much thrill in that, and some people may not like that thrill. But what if you got used to that thrill? What if you got used to not knowing what was going to happen, but knowing that you could figure it out no matter what? I hope you'll take this to heart a little bit and say, I'm going to get comfortable with not necessarily knowing what's going to happen, but you'll figure it out.